All right, you guys, I am here with my guy, Jay Tuck from CFO Sports. Honestly, I have to say this before we get started. I know, I'm supposed to sit here and hate my guy. It is what it is, right? But this is my guy. I've been doing this for a long time. We came into the game pretty close to each other, been able to see him grow. I'm going to show a picture right now of us at the draft. We got to go out there, hang out. A lot of fun. An amazing analyst, knows the draft like the back of his hand. My guy, Jay Tuck. Tuck, what's going on, brother?
Hey, my dog, man. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the kind words. Like I said, we kind of came in this game. It's crazy how much we've grown since 2020. So I remember the first round table we did, and we was having an argument about Wits and Dak and all sorts of stuff, man. So we came a long way. But, we were talking off cam, man. This is what it's about, man. Building brotherhood and friendships, man. And you're definitely one of those ones, man. Even though you cheer for the wrong team, I really don't want to hold that against you, man. But I'm excited to rock with you, bro. And, congratulations on all your growth and success that you're doing, man. You're a staple in the game. Don't let no one tell you otherwise.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, so, all right, we said our niceties, right? Now we got to get down to brass tacks, Tuck. We got to get down to brass tacks. So, look, the Eagles and the Cowboys, beautifully. I mean, hasn't happened in a long time. Week 1 opponents. This hasn't happened in I think a decade or maybe even more. It's been a long time. It's an exciting time, obviously, for Eagles fans. The Cowboys are kind of in a transitional period. New coach, new system, same old faces as far as players go. Before we get into week 1, though, I want you to kind of take me back to the end of last season. I want you to kind of take me into your walk into off season. What were the goals for the Dallas Cowboys? And tying into that, how well do you think that they maybe accomplished those goals?
Yeah, if you go back to last season, I kind of felt it was a lame duck season, as you will, because Mike McCarthy was on a 1-year deal. We lost Dan Quinn. We brought in a brand new defensive staff across the board, all 1-year prove-it deals with Mike Zimmer. Not a lot of outside acquisition from free agency, and I felt our draft was kind of lackluster. So I really didn't have a lot of expectations. Yeah. But I will say this, the one thing that I did notice about the Dallas Cowboys, even throughout the course of the injuries, was they got fight. Even when I was trying to tell them, hey, bro, y'all can mail it in if y'all want, because I remember, bro, I was getting ready to do Travis Hunter film breakdown. I had it all cut up, and the Cowboys just started winning. We started beating the Bucks and the Command. I'm like, well, what are we doing, right? So I feel like the team did kind of find some fight through all the adversity. But it was just like, okay, who are we? Because even if we was healthy, we had the loss versus the Saints. We had the loss versus the Ravens. Detroit dog walked us and embarrassed us. So it's like we really didn't know who we was last year. So ending the season, me personally, I was just like, all right, I feel like Mike McCarthy had proven his worth, his value. Because like they said, we beat some quality opponents with hell. You probably would have thought I was out there some games covering, versus Mike Evans. But, ultimately, they didn't bring Mike McCarthy back. There was conversations that they wanted to bring him back. I know him and Jerry had extensive talks. They even blocked his interviews with other teams. So you felt like, hey, man, they really wanted Mike McCarthy back. From conversations I kind of heard behind the scenes, it was a difference between the contractual years, which I don't understand the difference, right? But Mike McCarthy said, you know what, deuces, you can have it. All right, so Mike McCarthy walks, and I was like, all right, well, we know Ben Johnson's kind of headed to Chicago, but you have an Aaron Glenn out there. You had a Robert Saleh. Maybe you pick up the phone and call it Bill Belichick. They really didn't turn heaven and earth to find a head coach. It was more like, what do we have? And I feel like the biggest egg on the Cowboys' face, organizational-wise, was their golden goose in Kellen Moore, who was your offensive coordinator in Philly. He even said, nah, I'm cool. I'm going to go to New Orleans. So I feel like from that standpoint, they started scrambling a little bit, and they were like, who can we hire? And there was this guy in Brighton trying to say, I'll do it. And he said, you want to coach? And he said, sure, why not? So at first, I wasn't excited about the hire. I was kind of like, here we go again. But I will say this. The thing that kind of got me on track was Brian Schottenheimer went out there and built a super team from coaches. Clayton Adams, who was in high regard coming out of the Cardinals, we brought him in, which we don't typically bring in people who are in high regard. We kind of like the purse holders, as I always call it. You know what I'm saying? The girls who hold the purse. We don't want the girl that everybody want, right? And then we went and got Junior Adams out of Oregon, Connor Riley out of Kansas State, and these were all highly touted coaching stats. Like, okay, well, maybe he just kind of knows his limits, and he's putting in the work to bring in a staff that might be a little bit more seasoned than him. So that's when the tide started to turn. Went into the draft Free agency wise, we lost some key additions. I know Cowboys fans, for whatever reason, because it's kind of copiism, we lost to Marcus Lawrence, but whether you love him or hate him, he was an anchor to our defense. He was a
Yeah.
veteran leader, a guy that you can trust. Like, hey, if he's out there on the field, he's going to do the job. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys kind of had in Brandon Graham and some other guys, right? It's someone you don't have to worry about. Lose Zach Martin to retirement. Then you had Jordan Lewis, who was playing phenomenal as an inside corner. We lost him to Jacksonville. And then we had Chauncey Golston, who was kind of our jackknife that can play inside and outside. So we lose him. So we started losing some guys. Brandon Cooks in New Orleans. All right, how are we going to replenish? And I really didn't like how the Cowboys replenished via free agency. The draft was a different conversation, but I hate leaning so heavily on rookies.
Yeah.
But then, of course, as we all know, that one day where we just got that alert that the Dallas Cowboys traded for George Pickens, I think that's what pretty much changed the tide when it came to Cowboys fans. And now the excitement's back in the air as we gear up for camp next week. So it's just, it was one of those things. I mean, did I think that we moved the needle as far as the Cowboys are concerned this offseason? Probably not. If he has had a 6.5, 7, there's still work to be done. But it's going to be exciting to have Pickens and CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott out there. So take that with a grain of salt if you want, Cowboys Nation.
I think it's exciting to have football back in general right now. We've waited. This has been the longest, I feel like, just wait for the season to actually come back. But you talked about, your head coach, and I wanted to talk about that because, look, Eagles fans are no, stranger to having a head coach that a lot of people don't believe in. You talked about this even on an Instagram reel that I saw, how people are basically saying, who is this guy? He's a nobody, can't get it done. And I'm pretty sure all those were just tweets taken from my page. So I can only imagine what everybody else is saying. But at the end of the day, look, Doug Peterson was a nobody. He brought us to a Super Bowl. Nick Sirianni was, kind of a nobody. Nobody thought he can do it. Talk to me about your coach. What do you want to see? I mean, he's been in this game for a long time. It's not like he's a spring chicken. He's never seen NFL football. He knows what an organization is supposed to do. What are the positives that you can kind of take away from a head coach decision like him?
Yeah, I feel our situation is very similar to what you guys experienced. Like, even though Doug Peterson was kind of unknown, he was proven as a Super Bowl champion in Philly, right? So he's kind of coined. But we know when it comes with that, bro, there's ego. There's, like, I want y'all a Super Bowl. Like, who are you to tell me? So I think that was kind of the thing with Mike McCarthy, that he was kind of set and stuck in his ways because he was a Super Bowl champion. And let's keep it a buck. The Cowboys needed Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy really didn't need the Cowboys. If he never coached again, he's still a Super Bowl winning head coach. And so then now you guys replace Doug Peterson, who was proven with this unknown, and Nick Sirianni. Like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? What can he kind of do? It's the same thing with Brian Schottenheimer. Now, Brian Schottenheimer does have the name. He does have the cachet of being next to some of the greatest football minds, Mike McCarthy, Pete Carroll, Eric Mangini, his father, like the list goes on and on. So he's been around a lot of football people. So he knows the game. It's just when you're an actual head coach and you have all the control and have to worry about the offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, personnel, dealing with our front office, like that's where we're going to see what Schotty's really about. But the positive thing that I can really say when it comes to Brian Schottenheimer, kind of like Nick Sirianni, is that there's a different energy, right? There's a different energy. And if you can get players to buy in, sometimes that's all you need. Like, I don't think that Dan Campbell in Detroit is an X's and O's guy. Like, he's a, one of those type of coaches. But when he speaks, you believe in him, and you buy into it. The same thing with Nick Sirianni. And I think the same thing is going to be with Brian Schottenheimer. He has put a strong emphasis on knowing not just the player, but knowing your mama's name, your daddy's name, your son's name. Like, there's so many players who are just undrafted. Like, yeah, man, Shotty just called me to say what's up, or he showed up and, I had a charity event and Shotty pulled up. Like, so those little things might go a long way. It has to be proven on the field. But the thing that I like about Shotty is that he's just more connected. And I think he will be able to translate more with today's younger era of NFL players. I mean, these kids, Joe, I see the Penn State helmet back. These kids coming in with bags, bro. You know what I'm saying? They coming in 30 million up from college. Exactly. And so it's going to be hard to kind of reel them in with this old school approach. You have to be able to speak to them and connect to them in a way that typically isn't done. And I think that's why he went more college staff as well. And I think that I'm looking for is just more innovation And also, who are we in big moments? I feel like when it came to the Dallas Cowboys, specifically like just years past, when the lights got bright, that's when we shrunk. That's when we tense. Like it's easy to go for it on fourth down versus the Giants and go for it on fourth down versus Commanders, right? Those types of teams. But all right, now it's dark in the middle of Philly and it's tied up going to the fourth quarter and it's 4th and 2. Are you still about that go for it on fourth down life? Are you still going to be aggressive? Or are you going to cower a little bit? Or when you look across and you see Kyle Shanahan, for the 49ers, are you going to shrink a little bit when you go against the San Francisco 49ers? Or are you going to turn up and, do what you do as far as your approach is concerned? So those will be the things that I'm looking forward to see when it comes to new Brian Schottenheimer era in Dallas.
Yeah, I think it'll be
And we
very
get to see it week
interesting.
one. We get to see it week one. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? We've been hearing all this. We're going to run the ball and we got hats and merch and get a big physical offensive line and run when teams know. All right, we're going to see week one. We'll see.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I think that for Eagles, like the actual organization, right, the team, their homework started as soon as we knew you were our week 1 opponents. As soon as that schedule came out, they were game planning. I think for Eagles fans, and this kind of ties into the next question I want to ask you, our real game planning, right? We don't really call play, we don't do anything, but us kind of figuring out what this game week 1 is going to start at your training camp. So I want to ask you, obviously everybody's got big names they want to look at. They want to look at your borderline lazy running back. I don't know what that means. I just thought that was a hilarious title. But either way, they want to look at all these kids. Is there a person that you're looking at that you're like, people aren't talking about him, and I'm not going to tell Joe today. I'm going to hope he doesn't bring this conversation up so they keep not looking at him. But this is a guy that could really help us this year. Is there someone kind of behind the scenes or maybe just not talked about enough?
Well, yeah, I think from Cowboys fans, we're talking about him, but it was a guy that I actually thought was going to be a Philadelphia Eagle in this draft was Donovan Ezekaraku. I feel like this kid out of Boston College is going to be an edge rusher that he's very Micah Parsons-esque. I've watched ACC football. I mean, hell, he tore Florida State up at like 5 sacks that damn game, So he's definitely a menace, and I think that when you look at our edges, when you have Dante Fowler, who we brought back, Sam Williams returning off the ACL. You also have Marshawn Nealon, who's a 2nd-round pick. We know what Micah Parsons is. And then you add Donovan Ezekaraku, who's just a pure natural pass rusher that has a complete tool set and toolbox. I think he's going to be a player that can really turn up and spark us on the defensive side of the ball. As far as the offense is concerned, I've been saying the most important piece for this thing to even work, right? If we want to try to get to contention, is going to be our 2nd-year rookie in Tyler Guyton, that left tackle, because he had some struggles last year, had some confidence boosts, got injured a little bit, got benched a few times. So it was kind of up and down when it came to Tyler Guyton. But I think that he's going to be a very important piece because if he doesn't work out, then who's your backup plan? Yeah. Then kind of gets to some guards converting over, some older guys. So, and that's the left tackle position. That's one of the most important positions in football, especially when you have a quarterback who just tore his hamstring off the bone. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like Tyler Guyton is the most important piece. So for me, as we gear up for camp this week, I'm going to be watching every detail about Tyler Guyton to see what's going on, because if not, we need to probably go get a veteran guy that can kind of help fill that void. Because think about like Tyler Smith. When we had Tyler Smith out of Tulsa, yes, he was a young green projected rookie left tackle / guard, but we also had Tyron Smith, though he was older. We still had your guys and Jason Peters. So if something hit the fan, you at least had some type of cushion. Right now, if Tyler Guyton don't work out, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. So I think he's going to be a very important piece. So they'll probably be my 2 guys without saying too much.
Yeah, I had to try.
My eye on camp.
I had to, give my effort, man. They wouldn't watch the video if I get little nuggets, right?
Right. Try to get some nugget.
But speaking of cushion, right? I'm glad you stopped with the offense and brought up Dak Prescott. Speaking of cushion, he was sitting on a cushion for a long time last season. Obviously coming back, whether fair or not, obviously all offseason, it's arguments about quarterbacks and rankings and waiting for football. So fair or not, Dak Prescott is the spotlight. A lot of people are going to be waiting to see what he's going to do. And I'm going to be as blunt as I can be because I really, truly want to know this. What is his leash like? How long? Like, I understand he is a great quarterback, and I'm not going to take that away from him. But the Cowboys, I feel like, are in such a weird situation where you're paying so many guys that how far are you waiting if you're Jerry Jones, if you're, this front office on Dak Prescott, if after 3 or 4 games it looked like he doesn't have it, is there another option? What do you think? Just kind of, how do you see that playing out, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I see realistically a 3-year leash when it comes to Dak Prescott with his final deal. The deal just kicks in this year finally, so you really can't move on him with the dead cap. And of course, he has the no trade clause built into his contract. So I feel like the next 3 years that's it, right? I feel like we got 3 years of Dak Prescott and that's it. But here's a conversation piece that a lot of Cowboys fans, because of course, Joe, same thing kind of with Hurts or whoever, whether it was Wentz, we kind of overprotect and baby our quarterbacks. Here is what Cowboys fans need to be cautioned about. Dak Prescott now is in his Tony Romo phase, where, in 2016, and a lot of people didn't agree with me when I said it, there was somebody that if you kind of got hurt or nicked up and they got the reins at QB1, you might not get that shit back, and that was how I felt about Dak Prescott, kind of with Wentz and Jalen Hurts, right? I do feel, and people are probably going to clip this, if Dak gets nicked up for 4 to 5 games, again, 6 games, and Joe Milton really gets a hold of this offense with CeeDee Lamb and this offensive line and George Pickens and Jake Ferguson and Kevontae Turpin, and things start to turn up a little bit, there could be a little pressure where they might see like, oh, can we go back to Dak, right? So we're kind of back in that same loophole. I felt like with Trey Lance, he wasn't seasoned enough at a quarterback to really take it because there was a lot of growth, and you would have to completely overhaul your offense to simplify it, which I know Mike McCarthy's lazy ass didn't want to do. But I feel like Joe Milton, he is a guy that can play it from the ears up as well. He has the arm talent. He's mobile, young, athletic. There was a bunch of players, wide receivers that were just training with Joe Milton at a camp. So it could be that kind of youth movement where, hey, Dak goes down with a thumb injury or hand injury, and let's say Joe Milton becomes our quarterback and he, beats Kansas City or something on Thanksgiving. We all know how those conversations are going to turn. So, but I think we got 3 years realistically with Dak, unless there's some injury and things start to split the other way.
That definitely is getting clipped, and it might be my meat. Might be my meat.
I just feel like we're there because I feel like Joe Milton is a quarterback that if Dak, depends on how long, right? If Dak goes down for the season, all right, we're not going to win the Super Bowl or anything. But if he's down 6 or 7 games, I feel like Joe Milton will be able to go to Philly and at least make it more competitive than Cooper Rush. You guys just turned Cooper Rush into dog food, right? Just right. He couldn't move in the pocket. He was a one-read quarterback. Like, it was nothing to really be concerned about. But I feel like Joe Milton, with his skill set and this talent that he has, he can probably take it up to a whole nother level, which can open up those conversations.
Now, last question I want to ask you, kind of unfair because it's still so early, right? But kind of thinking how you are now, looking at training camp, I want to ask you, looking at week 1, give me the positive and negative side. If you see this happen, you are going to be feeling good about the Cowboys. And then opposite of that, if you see this happen, you're going to be worried about the season. Can you kind of, I want to pick your brain and kind of see what your opposite sides are right now.
Yeah. All right. So this is where people get mad at me. I'll take my Cowboys hat off a little bit. But, I think from an analytical standpoint, the positives that the Dallas Cowboys have working in their favor is, one, they can hit you with the surprise element, right? Because we have no idea what this offense is going to look like. We don't even have any idea what this defensive scheme is going to look like, because it's completely brand new. And I keep trying to tell Cowboys fans this. I get it. We're excited for camp next week. They're not going to reveal all the stuff they're going to do versus Philly at Friends and Family Day and First Responders Day. Like, we're going to get very bare bones. But once they get back to Frisco and have the closed practices, that's when like, oh, we're going to put Kevontae Turpin at running back or something crazy, right? So the element of surprise factor works in the Cowboys' favor. Also, I know Dak Prescott coming back off an injury. Typically, he's in go mode, and especially when now he has George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. So that's a whole different dynamic that the Eagles will have to focus on week 1. But on the other side of the things, there's question marks, right? Who's the type of coach that Brian Schottenheimer is? Are we going to be able to control the line of scrimmage offensively and defensively? We do not know. Who is going to be our corners? Is going to be covering A.J. Brown, Dotson, and Smitty? I do not know. What do these unproven linebackers look like? Because they're kind of some journeymen and Kenneth Murray and Jack Sanborn. I do not know. So it's like, who's going to be our dominant running back to be able? Who's going to be our running back? I do not know. So I can't, as I'm sitting here today in July, say, okay, Dallas Cowboys, we're prepared to battle versus Philly. Hell, we don't even know who our one tech is, right? So we got some things to figure out before we get there. So I feel like this is going to be a hard task to go and beat Philly. But what I do want to see, just looking at it from this perspective, is do we got some nuts? Do we have some courage? Are we going to fold, right? Because I can guarantee you, Saquon Barkley is probably going to get the first 5 carries out the gate. And Nick Sirianni's going to say, did they fix this run defense? Mm-hmm. If you show any weakness, he's going to be, all right, well, we're going to just Saquon our way up out of here on our banner ceremony and get up out of here. And if you try to load the box, you don't have the corners to even cover Smitty and AJ Brown, right? We gonna keep it very simple. So then, in order for the Cowboys to really go out and show improve, not just versus the Eagles but the NFL, can you stop the run? Last year, Joe, there were so many games that were just blatantly disrespectful. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens say, you know what? We ain't even gonna pass the ball, bro. We're just gonna run it down y'all throat with Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and you're not gonna. And the Cowboys just let them, right? I feel like a lot of people are gonna continue to test their chin, if you will, until they prove that they can actually fight back. So that's gonna be the one thing that's gonna be important to see is, can you actually stop the run, and also can you really commit to the run game besides of all these big, bold words you've been hearing all off season? Because I guarantee you, Big Fantasy is gonna sit back and say, we're not going to let Pickens beat us, and we're not going to let CeeDee Lamb beat us. If Miles Sanders has his revenge day, then so be it, right? But we're going to take this passing game away and let the Cowboys try to beat us on the ground in Philly versus that defensive front that you guys have, and I highly doubt that that's going to happen. So.
Well, I know that since I've met you, I think that, and me and James, we say this all the time, we're finally going to get to see both teams almost as healthy as they've probably been ever. Like, realistically, in the Dak Prescott and Hurts.
Wood, man.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, knock on wood. But this is what we've been waiting for. This is what we want. I'm very excited, but I think that you hit it on the head, and I think that a lot of Eagles fans might not admit this, but the unknown is a scary thing for the Cowboys. We don't know what the Cowboys are going to be. We assume that, hey, it's going to be the same old thing. I think a lot of Eagles fans don't even remember that they have a new coach. Just because we look at Jerry and we say, oh, that's what the Cowboys are. But it could be totally different. It took Howie Roseman to get smacked in his mouth a couple times for him to finally say this is going to change. So I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility. Do I think the Eagles are going to go out there and spank on some Cowboys? I definitely do, and I can't wait. But Tuck, man, I can't thank you enough for coming on, man. I appreciate you as always because you take your time and you do take off the Cowboys hat, and I appreciate that. You are always honest, one of the best when it comes to draft prospects. So if you guys are Eagles fans and want to know anything about the draft, if you trust me, you'll more than trust my guy Tuck. So I can't say it enough. I appreciate you so much. Is there anything you want to let people know is going on? I know you got so much going on in your life. Is there anything you want to promote or anything?
Yeah. So appreciate you as always, man. For everyone looking for me, you can find me on all social media platforms at JTuck151. My YouTube channel is CFO Sports, like Joe says. Like, even though it's Cowboys oriented, we do a lot of draft content. I mean, hell, at least Howie Roseman watches my draft content, honestly, because y'all, every year from Quinyon Mitchell to Jahad Campbell this year, the list goes on and on. Y'all just, Cooper DeJean, so Johnny Wilson. So Howie at least listens to my draft takes. It's how do I get my own organization to do so? But yeah, we do a lot of draft content. We'll be doing draft content all year long this year, as I will be covering college football throughout the entirety of the season this year. So even if you're just a college football fan and you want to hear about Penn State and what's going on or whoever, definitely stop by, and we appreciate it. We got a bunch of Eagles fans, man, that come over to the channel. It's all love. Like, I had the opportunity to cover the Super Bowl, and I was around all of y'all because y'all pretty much took over New Orleans. And it's just like, I get it that the beef that we have on social media and whatnot, but sometimes, like, being around the team, being around an organization, like, these are just players. There wasn't bad guys. I mean, Jordan Davis was freaking hilarious. Yeah. Smitty was hella cool. AJ was hella cool. I mean, even Nick Sirianni at the podium was hella cool. So it's just like, I get it, but we'll get to on Thursday night. I'll mask up, but the Cowboys spending time talking about the Eagles, man. So appreciate you, my dog.
And last thing I will say, Jalen Carter, my man's right here, saved me a seat in the front row. And I'm sorry I'm holding you so long, but saved me a seat in the front row. Literally said, Joe, this seat is for you, dog. There was hundreds of reporters around that would have just hawked that seat. My guy did that. My guy was like, listen, you guys are trading up. You're getting Jalen Carter. This is what I'm told. I relayed that information to Eagles fans. So you guys got that information from me, but I got that from Tuck. So just to show you kind of where me and him have been. But yeah, like I said, I told him 15 minutes. I knew that would be a lie, but I appreciate you so much, man.
You know, we'll probably rock longer, man. But yeah, man, because I wanted you to have the interview. What the hell was I going to do with a Jalen Carter interview? He wasn't coming to Dallas, man. And you know, and that's one of the things, like I said, it's like, you know, I love Jalen Carter coming out of Georgia. He was my number one prospect that year, if not for the off the field stuff. And so it's like, people want me to be mad, like, oh, Jalen Carter, bro, like he's a dog, literally. You know what I'm saying? I hate that you guys got him. So I was sitting there next to Joe as he was, you know, side elbowing me with excitement. And I'm just like, damn, man. But that's what it's all about, man. It's just, you know, like I said, we came into this game blindly, not knowing where the hell it was going to lead, and I'm extremely blessed for all the opportunities and the things that we've got to accomplish, and we're not done yet.
Definitely, man. And I'm blessed for everybody that watched this. Like he said, but definitely go check him out. I'll leave a link in the description. Definitely like and subscribe if you haven't to this video. But other than that, we are out.
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Fly, Eagles flying on the team. Touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring. You don't really want to start a thing. This a bird gang nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling on Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man soft. Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season head, early time to do him in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.